Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for being here this afternoon. My name is Reagan Carter, and I'm with Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights. We're so excited to have all of you out here as our partners and supporters of Smoke-Free Baton Rouge. On Friday, we will be celebrating our 6-month anniversary of Smoke-Free Baton Rouge implementation. And so this press conference, we're going to share feedback from our community, from our council members, and the police department on how successful implementation has been and how great Smoke-Free Baton Rouge has been for our Baton Rouge community. We are extremely excited to have Mayor Sharon Reston Broome to speak with us this afternoon. Without her support, this would not be possible. Mayor Broome, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here, and it certainly is an honor to stand here and announce that East Baton Rouge Parish has been smoke-free for 6 months. So since June 1st of this year, our entire city parish was given the right to breathe smoke-free air. Our community was able to come together and pass a smoke-free ordinance to protect musicians, entertainers, casino workers, and all who live and love our great city. A smoke-free parish is a large factor to making Baton Rouge healthier for everyone, and it is something that all of our community partners have worked very hard to accomplish. And so I really want to thank the Baton Rouge Smoke-Free Coalition for your collaboration and partnership. And a huge thank you goes to the Baton Rouge Police Department, the Alcohol Beverage Control Board, and our 311 operators who have been essential in successful implementation. I would also like to thank our city council members who supported the smoke-free ordinance, and Jared Heimowitz and the Board of Directors of Health EBR for making this possible. As many of you know, there is no safe level of secondhand smoke, and secondhand smoke exposure has immediate adverse effects on the cardiovascular system and can cause coronary heart disease and heart attacks. Secondhand smoke increases the risk for stroke by 20 to 30%. But today, we can find hope for the devastating effects that secondhand smoke has caused in the past have been diminished in the 6 months because of this city's amazing collaboration. It shows you the power of collaboration in this effort. And it's wonderful to be a part of creating a healthier community, as it is a top priority as I serve each and every one of you as your mayor president. I know this ordinance will continue to have significant impacts on our community's health for years to come as we stand strong as a smoke-free city. Thank you so much.
I contacted our communications division, and as of today, we haven't had one call for service. With that, I will say thank you to the community for stepping up to the plate, because I thought we would have had a few, but apparently I was wrong. So thank you.
I'm so glad to have been a part of the coalition of council members who got this over the hump. We had a lot of help from a lot of friends in the healthcare associations, in a lot of the Heart Association, American Cancer Society, to get the information out, talk to folks. And I'll tell you, I had a few complaints at the beginning of this, but I really haven't had very much outreach to me complaining about this. And I think there's a lot of thinking through this ordinance and giving businesses time to adjust, because this wasn't to put anyone out of business. This was to make everyone healthier when they visited a business. And I think a lot of folks are on the other side of this, have made the changes they need to make in their business. Their clientele is better as far as their health. They're not leaving to go to another parish to go have a drink and smoke like so many people were fearing. And I think we're gonna see a healthier community going forward. I think the businesses are gonna succeed, and I don't think there's gonna be any problem. And I'm so happy to have been a part of this.
I would just second what the mayor has said and what Matt has said. And in short, I think anything we can do to make a healthier Baton Rouge is making Baton Rouge a better place to live, and that's what we should all be about. So thank all of you in here who were so instrumental in pushing some of us in leadership roles to do the right thing. We appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone. As my colleagues have already stated, being at the forefront of health of pushing healthy lifestyles is what we are about in Baton Rouge, and seeing that the smoke-free program has been moving and is successful is what we wanted to do. So thank you again, Smoke Free Baton Rouge.
Thank you again, council members, for your great work. As you know, we have mentioned throughout our process that one of our main focuses for our smoke-free initiatives is to protect the health and safety of our casino workers, our hospitality staff, our entertainers, musicians, as well as anyone that visits casinos and bars in the Baton Rouge area. But our musician community is at the heart of our work because we want to make sure that they are protected in the workforce as they go out and do their work and entertain us. And so we're very excited to have HR, I want to pronounce your name correctly, Zeifel? Zeifel, HR Zeifel, who is a local musician that many of you all may have heard his performance. I'll let him talk to you about his band, but thank you so much for being here. If you can come and say a few words for us.
It's been great. I'm a guitar player for a band, MJ and the Redeemers. My wife's MJ. She's ill, unfortunately. She would be here. We played music for a lot of years. Her being a lead vocalist, me being a guitar player and a vocalist. Over the years, playing in smoky barrooms in New Orleans and really all over the world, and in Baton Rouge. A lot of times we get home, raspy voice the next day, even though neither of us were smokers, and smelly clothes, which is, typical. Tell you a real quick story. Everybody seems to like this one. I was in Norway one time, and we were playing. This was before they went smoke-free there, by the way, which they did. I never thought they would. Well, they did, and played in a smoky, very hot club one night, and got back to the hotel room and literally threw my clothes away because I didn't want to travel back home with them. They were that smelly and stinky. It was terrible. But anyway, we love having this. We can go play. There's certain clubs that embrace this even early, like Phil Brady's got ahead of this. Joe actually started making everything smoke-free before the law went into effect. Clubs like the Time Out, Lava Cantina, Phil Brady's. I mean, it's nice to go in there now and be able to play. You don't have to worry about breathing secondhand smoke. And another thing I found out too is that a lot of my musician friends who do smoke have no problem with this. At least no one has mentioned anything to me. They'll go outside, smoke a cigarette, come back in. I don't think business has fallen off. I think if you talk to the club owners, I think that's what you would hear. If anything, it may have increased. And it's certainly better on us as musicians and the crowd in general. I'm all for it, and I'm hoping it keeps moving in the direction that it's moving in. So for East Baton Rouge Parish right now, it's a great thing. And I'm hoping it kind of carries forward to West Baton Rouge, Point Capee, you name it, everywhere. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys.
My name is Kathy Richard. I'm with the Louisiana Cultural Economy Foundation. Our mission is to provide economic and healthcare resources for all cultural workers in Louisiana. So you can imagine two of the most important groups that we represent are the entertainment and the hospitality industry. Musicians, entertainers, bar owners, hospitality workers are some of the most individuals who are at risk for diseases and illnesses caused by secondhand smoke. Members of the industry have long been supporters of these smoke-free venues, such as you've heard from Mr. Zeifel. But they provide just one segment of affected individuals. Workers in bars and casinos are directly affected and often have few, if any, options for relief. And of course, the visitors and the patrons of these establishments are also affected. As you will see in our summary that we have provided to you, a scientific study was undertaken in 2016 where the air quality of 11 bars and 3 casinos in Baton Rouge were assessed. This study was done by the nationally renowned researchers at Roswell Park Center Institute in Buffalo, New York. The results of the assessment were alarming. The average air quality in all the facilities exceeded the EPA threshold for unhealthy air and approached the threshold for very unhealthy air. It should be noted that 2 of the facilities exceeded the unhealthy air level and 2 exceeded the hazardous levels. This results of the study were a key factor in the contribution of the coalition efforts to pass a smoke-free ordinance in this parish. That ordinance was finally passed by the Metro Council in August of 2017 and became effective June 1st, 2018. Approximately 1.5 months after implementation of the ordinance, we went back to test the air quality of the 3 casinos, and we randomly selected 3 of the bars from the previous study. To give you a little bit of background, we used the TSI SciPac AM510 personal aerosol monitor and the protocol developed by the Roswell Institute. A minimum of 30 minutes was in each establishment. The results were not surprising, but certainly were encouraging that the ordinance was working as intended. The average particle matter level in the 6 locations had decreased substantially. Before the ordinance, none of the facilities had good air quality, while after the ordinance, all of the facilities tested in the good range. That means that the average level of air pollution in these establishments had improved by 98.8%, which is astounding, in only 1.5 months. On behalf of the workers, patrons, entertainers, and hospitality industry at these facilities, we would like to thank the Mayor President and the Council for their wisdom and their courage in passing this life-saving ordinance. Thank you so much.
I believe that the citizens of Baton Rouge want a healthier community, and being a smoke-free community certainly moves us in that direction. And so this initiative, I feel, has been very positive for those individuals who visit casinos and other entertainment facilities, as well as everyone as a whole. So it's been a win for our city.
It was also a great deal of work between you and the council and a coalition of people. So a lot of people were involved with this. A lot of people should take some credit.
Most definitely, it was certainly a collaborative effort. One person didn't do this. It was, of course, the leadership of Smoke Free Baton Rouge, as well as so many other community partners, our council members. The collaboration was very powerful, and you can see the end results of the collaboration. The American Heart Association, all of these different stakeholders and partners in the community stepped up to the plate and said, yes, we want this to happen. We know it's a good thing for our community. Secondhand smoke and the results of secondhand smoke on individuals who don't smoke is extremely impactful. And so I believe that our citizens deserve the best, and smoke-free is the best.
Musicians are demanding smoke-free gigs for their health. They understand, the younger generation of musicians understand this is unacceptable for them. And as a side story, there was a very smoky bar in Lafayette called Cowboys, and it was the smokiest bar in Acadiana. And in fact, they went voluntarily smoke-free because he could not book gigs with good name, high draw, audience draw musicians because they were demanding smoke-free, and in fact, they weren't.
The EPA has certain guidelines about how much particulate matter can be in the air. With the wildfires, you may have seen some of these charts on the Weather Channel and the news channels. And the higher the level of particulate matter, the more problems you have for asthmatics. And initially, the problems are for people who are already a little unhealthy. But as the particulate matters go up to the levels that we saw in the original air quality studies, even healthy people have cardiovascular risk and asthma risk and pulmonary risk.
It really goes back to a long history of tobacco industry interference with public health and smoke-free, creating scare stories that raising doubt about the issue. But the evidence base is clear that smoke-free indoor air policies and laws save lives, and they're successful.
A lot of the harms, especially for people who have pre-existing cardiovascular conditions or asthma, can happen immediately with exposure to secondhand and thirdhand smoke.
Back in 1976, the idea of even a smoke-free bank lobby was highly controversial, or a teacher's lounge. Now, the place where people are still exposed the most are in hospitality venues such as bars and casinos. But thanks to the leadership of local elected officials and community-based coalitions, we are finally making this progress for protecting everyone's right to breathe smoke-free air in their job.
I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is in the southwest part of the state. And our community has really embraced the casino industry. It provides a lot of jobs, it provides a lot of economic impact. And there's a lot of fear that if we go smoke-free, it'll hurt that. And what we're learning here is that that's not the case, that there are casinos all over the country that have gone smoke-free that have actually increased their revenue, they've improved their employees' lives, and that it's really not such a bad thing.
Sometimes people are surprised to hear that there's more than 800 smoke-free casinos and gambling venues now in the United States. 20 states require smoke-free air in all state-regulated casinos and gambling venues. In addition, many cities have taken the lead, such as Baton Rouge. And also, a number of sovereign tribal nations have also adopted smoke-free indoor air policies for their gaming venues.
I'm proud to say that I work at a Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison, who has been smoke-free for a little over 3 years now. And that decision was prompted by our guests, actually. Our executive manager, Dan Brown, was receiving many comment cards that indicated that they loved the place, they enjoyed themselves, but they did not like the smoke. So after much deliberation with his executive team, he decided that what if? Let's take a survey of our clientele to explore the possibility of going smoke-free. The industry standard in gaming is that 70% of the clientele smokes. What was interesting was that we found that it was exactly flipped, that only 30% of our clientele smoked, and that 70% would welcome a smoke-free environment. We did that survey in November of 2014. August the 1st, 2015, we went completely smoke-free after Dan Brown went back to our legislature to convince them that he wanted to make this forward and progressive decision to go smoke-free. We are the only tribe in the state of Wisconsin that has that claim that we have a completely 100% smoke-free casino. In July of 2010, Wisconsin publicly mandated a non-smoking environment. But as a sovereign nation and the ability to self-govern ourselves, that did not apply to us. So this decision to go smoke-free was done completely of our own volition and not being publicly mandated to do so. I am happy to report that although in the first year we did see a dip in our revenue, we stuck with the decision, and in our second and third year we have had record-breaking numbers in our revenue. So it was the right thing to do, and it is wonderful for our guests and our employees as well. So I am so pleased to work at a facility that is smoke-free and to be able to go and talk about this, to encourage other communities, whether they're tribal or commercial casinos, to not be afraid, to survey, get the market data, and once you make the decision to do that, just stick with it. And you never know, because it exceeded all of our expectations.
The experience has been great with Ho-Chunk, definitely. I think the last time I did some research, I found about 7 tribal casinos that were entirely smoke-free. Some of them were in California, the Southwest, and New York area. The only tribal casino in the Midwest that is smoke-free is Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison. And the organization that I work for, Great Lakes Intertribal Council, we've done a lot of different collaborative projects with Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison to kind of look at their experience and get the word out that it's been really successful. Their employees are a lot healthier, they're a lot happier, and I think on the management side of things, the people are a lot happier as well, because the patrons, the customers that are coming in to the casino, they're actually staying in there longer and playing longer thus they're making more money at the casino. So it's very good for business. It's very good for the people's health, and I think Ho Chunk Gaming Madison is setting a great example for the entire Midwest and for tribal casinos across the country that this is the way to go.
My first year, I kept getting sick. I'd go to the casino just for a weekend at a time, and I would come away with a cough. And these coughs would not just be a weekend cough. They would be around for over a month. I had to go to the doctors multiple times the first year, and I was prescribed puffers. What do they call them here?
Inhalers.
Thank you, inhalers. I'm from Canada. I was prescribed one of those, and I'm like, this is what you give to someone who has like asthma or is a smoker or something. And it was really daunting that is a real thing. Again, coming from Canada, there's no such thing as smoking anymore. It hasn't been for over a decade, and so it was a real shock to my system, I guess, coming into that.
And so you're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and as part of the celebration, the 6-month celebration of Baton Rouge's smoke-free ordinance, and the casinos here now and the bars here now are smoke-free, and so that's something you're pretty excited about.
Definitely. It was a psychological thing. When I walked into the casino yesterday, I was ready for that smoke. You know, you just anticipate it's going to happen. And I walked through and there was nothing. And it was just everything, I don't know what it was. Everything looked so clean and so clear, and I just felt it was a really different experience.
There's no such thing as a great casino that still allows smoking in it, no matter if it's a tribal casino or a non-tribal casino. I think the research shows that businesses that have gone smoke-free, either through state policy or enacting their own voluntary policies, they have a much greater success with the people that are coming in and visiting their establishments. So that's true with Wisconsin when they enacted their statewide smoke-free policies. All the bars were kind of in a fit, and they thought it was going to be terrible for business. But after a while, they're seeing a much greater success, and it's largely due to people wanting to kind of be in that environment, in those spaces for a longer amount of time, and that wouldn't be true if there would be smoking in the building.
We definitely still love to have fun, don't get me wrong. But we're pretty smart, and we now have all the research behind us, right, that you guys have taught us. We know that smoking is bad for you. We know all the effects it does to you, and we want healthier living. You know, we want to eat organic foods. We want to have healthy stuff in our lives. And if we walk into a place that's full of cigarette smoke, that's not exactly where we want to be anymore. And especially, like, if you look at the numbers, only 13% of Americans smoke now. And we represent the larger spot that does not, so.
I don't know anybody in my generation that likes to go into a smoky bar or a smoky casino. It's just, that's what's there, so that's what we've got to do. But I think that we would go there a lot more often if it was smoke-free. And that's going to be a thing. I mean, we're the largest sector of the workforce nationally now. You know, we're a huge part of the economy, and casinos are going to have to get used to that.
In Wisconsin, every business outside of reservations going smoke-free. There was a smoke-free air law in Wisconsin, and tribes don't have to abide by the state smoke-free policies. So in the state, when you're traveling through the different reservations, you still do see smoking allowed in the different businesses, such as casinos, but I'm not exactly sure if that has to do with direct relationships with the tribes and casinos, but it'd be interesting to find out definitely if there is something behind that.
We can't leave out the disc jockeys because they are also in that environment. Comedians, again, are performing in bars. So we embrace all entertainers. A lot of times I'll say musicians, but I really mean all entertainers. So comedians, disc jockeys, and again, you know, the bartenders. We are connecting with them and getting them their own movement. You know, bartenders for Smoke-Free Louisiana. So.
Every single peer-reviewed study that's looked at the economic impact of smoke-free laws has found absolutely no negative and sometimes even a positive impact of going smoke-free. Basically, the non-smokers come out more frequently and they stay out more often, and there's a lot more non-smokers than smokers these days.
Well, all this growth happening in Lake Charles, the the conversation really is centered around smart growth. How do we not just grow, but how do we grow smart, and how do we grow progressively? This is part of that conversation. We've got to be on the cutting edge. We've got to be the ones that are pushing it to make our people healthy, to keep our people safe. And a smoke-free ordinance or smoke-free casinos would definitely be part of that conversation.
I would tell other cities and communities who are thinking of going smoke-free that, number one, it is doable, it is possible. Number two, I think it's vitally important to establish collaboration with community stakeholders. And after sitting down at the table and carving out an ordinance or a policy, I believe that at the end of the day, the citizens will applaud you for the efforts. There are always more people who appreciate initiatives like this than not. So we understand that the majority of people want to be in a smoke-free environment, not impacted by secondhand smoke. And so I would tell them to certainly step up to the plate and join us.